All right. Yo, yo, yo. Clear my throat. Yo, yo, yo. What is good, everybody? It is your boy, Lincoln Clay, the godfather of gaming, the ageless wonder, Lincoln Daddy, L Daddy. What's going on with everybody? What y'all going on? What y'all got going on this morning? It is 2:44 a.m. Eastern time here in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I cannot sleep. And so I was watching YouTube and I saw a series of videos um that I found a little bit shocking. JP Loco, what is up? You are first. And you are saying a few months back, I recall someone informing me that Ninja Theory's unannounced project at the time, Bleeding Edge, has been something that Ninja Theory has been working on for the past 6 years. Wow. Geico, what is up? Damn, Lincoln, what the hell you doing streaming this late, bro? Hey, I mean, it's Friday, man. How many times have y'all heard me say, how many times have y'all heard me say on a Friday or something like that, hey, I ain't got to work tomorrow. I'm going to try to make an all-nighter out of this. I'm going to try to stream all night, blah, blah, blah. And I end up falling asleep and not doing it. Well, tonight I'm doing it. So I'm finally making good on something. Stardust and Sarah, what's up? Support Gaming, what's up? So let me grab a little drink here. And I am off. I am off Monday. So I plan to be in chill mode to watch E3 tomorrow evening. So this actually, what I'm about to talk about, I think has a connection to Microsoft's E3. I have a question. Have you seen Big Money's latest video? No, I didn't know Big Money was making videos. I mean, I didn't know Big Money was actively making videos. If you want to, fill me in real quick, guy code, and tell me what his video is about, and give me the full name of his YouTube channel, I will check it out. So, Wanye, what is up? So, yeah, he says he's done with the roundtable. Good morning, Ice Queen Gaming. You said he's done with the roundtable. Well, I don't really know what to say about that. I mean, I don't talk to. Okay, I mean, I don't talk to Big Money on a regular basis, so I don't know what happened that brought him to that decision. All I can do is wish him luck wherever he chooses to go. I very well could see him on the PlayStation Legion on Sunday, because he's usually there every week. But I'm not going to ask him anything about it. So, for that podcast, I'll be part of I'm part of the PlayStation Legion, and that's where I'll leave it at. So, but again, whatever he chooses to do, best of luck to him. Damn, Fatal Mephisto went live too, coming in here trying to step on my shit, motherfucker. So, your laptop crashed, but you're back. Okay. So no, I'm not done with the round table. Red Ranger, hell no, I'm not done with the round table. I would probably say the one thing about me in the round table that's obvious is that I don't speak that much. Uh, that I'll get my intro in and say a few words, but after that, I don't say too much after that because I'm just not one that likes to try to talk over a bunch of people to get my point across. If we're talking about an interesting subject and things quiet down a little bit. What happened to Xbox Video? He had to, I think I think he was in the process of moving and trying to get some things set up. So it took him a while to get everything together. But looks like he's back now. Speaking of Xbox Video, I plan to ask him to come on my podcast. He bought an Oculus Rift S, and he gave me his he gave me his thoughts in a nutshell on Twitter, but I want to get him on the show so he can talk about it, and give his thoughts out loud to everybody because what I get from Vidiot can also play a part. My boxing podcast is tentatively scheduled for next week, Saturday, 3 p.m. And the reason why I say tentatively is because Jeff does not have Google Hangout. So I'm going to have to walk him through how to get into the podcast. So, I know he's willing to do it, but, he's active on YouTube. He has the Mayweather boxing channel. But I don't think he's done any live podcasts before, nothing like this. So again, he doesn't have Google Hangouts. So he said I should speak more. I have a lot of wisdom to spread in these gaming streets. Thank you, JP Loco. But yeah, my Uncle Jeff, again, he's the more conservative of the Mayweathers. He's the more humble one. And I thought it'd be cool to change the pace for a second. Bring him on, ask him some boxing questions. He's I think he's had a fairly successful boxing career. A successful training career, and he's dabbled with some of the biggest names in UFC and trained some of those fighters. So I want to touch on some of that stuff, and there's some questions that I wanted to ask him about about some of the fights that he was in on, those kind of things. So I have it tentatively scheduled for 3 p.m. Next Saturday. So basically, I think the only way this thing doesn't happen is if we run into a situation where hold on a second. Okay. Sorry about that. I was just backtracking on some of the comments. But yeah, I think the only way this podcast doesn't happen with my Uncle Jeff is if he can't get Google Hangouts to work, because it doesn't always work for some people. I hope it's smooth. But also, I do want to remind everybody today, tentatively scheduled for 1 p.m. Eastern time, Gamertag VR will be my guest today. He's been on the show a couple of times, but I definitely wanted to bring him back because I wanted to give him some time with the Oculus Quest, and I want to get the opinion of someone that I trust, someone that I call a friend, because Oculus, leading up to the launch of the Oculus Quest, they loaned out several headsets to some really big YouTubers, you know, Cass and Chari, Sebastian of MRTV, Nafi, Tyrell Wood, just to name a few. And these are like super big YouTubers that can have an impact on the launch of the Oculus Quest. And since these headsets were loaned to them during that period, I think they were under non-disclosure agreements. And not only that, I think out of courtesy, I think out of courtesy, they were saying positive things about the Oculus Quest. Not that I don't want them to say anything negative about the Quest. I want every guy code. If I'm not asleep, I'll be there. Okay, cool. Okay, cool, guy code. I appreciate it. If I lost my train of thought for a second. Well, I was talking about the big name YouTubers having the Oculus Quest. So a lot of these YouTubers, once the NDA was lifted, and they had to return these Oculus Quests and turn around and buy their own, then they started giving their honest opinions about the Oculus Quest. And it was still mostly positive, but again, I want to get the opinion of someone who had to buy their own Oculus Quest out of their own money, so there's nothing stopping them from giving a truthful review of the product. Same thing with Xbox Video. He bought his own Rift S, so I'll take him at his word on how he feels about the Rift S. So that's down the pipe too, to have him come on. JP Loco, you said I picked up Home Sweet Home, Trover Saves the Universe, Blood and Truth yesterday. Well, you definitely gonna like Blood and Truth. So okay, so let's that Trover games looks funny as fuck. It probably does, but I'm not that big of a platformer guy, even if it's in VR. Moss is a cool game, and Lucky's Tale isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought Lucky's Tale was going to be straight trash, but it's not. It's not that bad. It's not a game that I'm going to be playing every single day. What's up, PlayStation Plus podcast? Yeah, about to hit y'all with my conspiracy theories. We'll need another drink here in a second. Okay, so let's get down to it. Jemiah Dixon, what's up? You said, Lincoln, you said you must have taken that pre-workout to stay awake. I don't take pre-workout anymore, because I've been working out mostly from home now. I do push-ups. I play Beat Saber and stuff like that for my cardio. And then just last week, I went over to my mother's house and grabbed my tricep bar. So I'm doing most of my workout from home now. I still love working out. I just don't want to live in the gym. I just don't want to live in the gym anymore. I still want to go to the gym to work out, but I don't want to go to the gym anymore 5 to 6 days a week like I used to. I go 5, 6 days a week, and I'd be in there about 2 hours a day. So yeah, I mean, I'm getting to that, Mr. Crackhead. So yeah, again, let's get to the nuts and bolts of this shit. A couple of days ago, what's the date today? It's the 8th. So technically a couple of days ago, Google revealed, pricing and specs and all that kind of shit for Google Stadia. And from what I'm seeing on YouTube, it seems to me like the reception is like slightly more negative than positive. And I find that to be, am I big like Cali? Hell no. I don't know how tall that dude is, but that dude looked like he got about some damn 24-inch arms. My arms ain't near that big. You know, this picture might give you the impression that I might have some 19, 20-inch arms, but in actuality, my arms is probably like, you know, little under 18, like 17 and a half, 17, 3/4, some shit like that. So my arms ain't, you know, my arms aren't super big, but my arms ain't little either. You know, I've watched the replay of some of my VR podcasts, and that camera is weird because some angles, my arms look like spaghetti, and then some angles when I turn, you see what size my arms actually are. So, but no, I'm about 5'9", about 5'9", 213, 214. You know, I put a couple of pounds back on. So anyway, let's go back to this Stadia shit because I'm getting off the tracks again. So a couple of days ago, you know, they gave prices, specs, and what kind of content we can expect from Google Stadia. And the reception of it, in my opinion, has been slightly more negative than positive. And I find this reception to be somewhat fake. You know, I don't get what caused this flip flop, because some of these YouTubers, like I think I'll use Spawn Wave as an example. He's apprehensive about Google Stadia now, but he's apprehensive about the same shit that we've been talking about the whole time. Me, Sick Humor, and a bunch of other people have been saying that you are at the mercy of your internet provider. The internet providers are licking their chops over Stadia if this shit catches on, because they're going to throttle the shit out of you. And then they're going to probably turn around and offer you a package to pay a few more dollars a month to get a seamless experience. You know, they're going to offer you a cure for a disease that they created in the first place. You're at the mercy of your internet provider. Not to mention the other obstacle you have to go through is whether, you know, Stadia doesn't crash or not. And even if the shit doesn't crash, I still think there's going to be a lot of input lag because of how many times that signal has to be converted going back and forth from their network to your controller and back and forth and all that shit. So the shit never flew with me in the first place. But some of these YouTubers like Spawn Wave, who's apprehensive about it now, is concerned about the shit crashing and that kind of stuff. He was one of the people, if I'm not mistaken, when Google gave his first presentation of Stadia, what was it, a couple of months ago? He was one of the people that supported it. He was one of the people that said that he's curious about Stadia, that he's going to get Stadia, that streaming is the future, all this kind of shit. Several YouTubers were saying that shit, that streaming is the future. So what I don't understand is, what did they see in that presentation about a month and a half, 2 months ago, versus this stream that they showed a couple of days ago that made them do a total flip-flop from saying that, you know, streaming is the future to, you know, oh, we're not ready for it yet, or, you know, is, you know, what if it crashes? What if this happens? What does that happen? Why wasn't they saying that shit, you know, a couple of months ago when we were saying that? And then the thing about it was funny about that shit was, back then, these same YouTubers were talking about the xCloud, and the xCloud is unproven, but if anybody can make this streaming shit work, is Google, because of the cloud that they have, and YouTube and other services that they have and that kind of shit. You know, they were high on YouTube then, you know, but now, you know, now they're apprehensive. Now they're acting like they're not sure the shit gonna work. Now they're not sure that the shit gonna be able to run consistently. Now they're not sure it ain't gonna be any crashes and all this kind of shit. So I don't get. See, the thing about it is, to me, Google didn't, in my opinion, Google did not do anything a couple of days ago that should have changed people's opinions from a couple of months ago. A couple of months ago, they explained to you how Google Stadia was going to work. They explained some of the features that it was going to have, like the ability to join your favorite YouTubers in a game instantly. That's how I think they plan to sell Stadia in the first place, because they not going to have any exclusive games. They might be able to get some marketing deals, but they're not going to have any exclusive games. So I think the way they're going to try to get people to get on board with Stadia is to pay YouTubers like Markiplier, Jacksepticeye. It might cost them too much to get PewDiePie on board, but if they can get them, they will use all these big name YouTubers, offer them a bigger chunk of money to open themselves up for a couple of hours to let the public play games with them. And then as far as these teenagers that want to play with them, they're going to need that Founders Edition to play with their favorite YouTubers. You ain't going to be able to just buy a game and jump in and play with them. No, you're going to need whatever their gold membership is, whatever the Founders Edition is, whatever their deluxe package they're offering. They're going to throw that shit at you. So you're going to have to drop that $140 or whatever the price is for this shit to be able to have access to your favorite YouTubers. Because a lot of these big name YouTubers that's got 5 million, 10 million, 20 million subscribers, they don't even answer shit in the comment section. They make a video, they open up the comment section by giving their first thoughts, and then that's it. You don't hear from them no more. So if they don't even halfway answer if they don't even halfway answer the subs, which when you got 5, 20, 50 million subs, I get that. But if you're not answering your subs, what makes you think these YouTubers want to play with these subs every single day? The shit gonna get on their fucking nerves after a while. So YouTube, in my opinion, gonna pay them, on some ninja shit, like EA did, pay them $100,000, $200,000, what have you, for them to play with, with subscribers maybe once a week, open up the shit for 2 hours and let people come play with them for a couple hours. I mean, to me, that's the only selling point of Stadia. So, but going back to the situation, the first presentation, they explained how it worked. They explained the features. And then in this next presentation, all they did was tell you what the shit was going to cost and let you know what games was going to be available when the shit launches. What is so drastic and polar opposite about these two presentations that it made YouTubers going from saying this is the future to they apprehensive about it? No, that presentation had nothing to do with it. That fucking crash that happened on Sunday, in my opinion, took them out of whatever square they was in, shook them up, scared them, whatever. I don't know how else to put it. Yeah, Guy Code, that you said no YouTubers will play it with others without pay from Stadia and Super Chats. Exactly. And Stadia, and Google going to try to draw them in to make you pay for that Founders Edition to buy that controller and all that shit. That's the only way you're going to have access to these YouTubers. So now going back to that crash that happened, I said it before my last podcast. I'll say it again. Does anybody find it a coincidence or strange that Google crash happened only a couple of days before Google was set to make probably the most important presentation of its existence? Not only did I find it strange that crash happened only a couple of days before the Stadia Connect, I find it strange that it happened on a Sunday where people are not at work. And you know what kind of world we live in today, where people check their shit every 3 seconds. YouTube and social media is a big part of people's lives who can't back away from their fucking phones for 5 seconds. So I'm sure when Google went down, a lot of people was affected by it. And I find that a coincidence that it happened a couple of days before their presentation. I find it a coincidence that it happened on a Sunday. And I find it odd that there were implications towards Microsoft in this shit. Because when Google gave that first presentation, everybody was talking about how Stadia was going to beat the xCloud and, the xCloud is finished and all this kind of shit. Now that we had that crash, And then they gave their presentation a couple of days ago. I don't care what Google would have put out there in that presentation. People were going to watch that presentation with a raised eye, with a raised eyebrow. Like, how are you going to show us this shit when your shit crashed a couple of days ago? So they already put fear in, fear and doubt and apprehension in the back of people's mind. So, I mean, Google was already fighting an uphill battle with that presentation. So the timing of that crash was just perfect. That, to me, that was a calculated move. And so now that crash just happened, now that Google has given their presentation, YouTubers are backing away from it. Dreamcast, Spawn Wave, just to name a couple, some bigger YouTubers are backing away from it now. And now they're talking about how the xCloud is going to crush Google. But we ain't seen shit. We ain't seen shit from the xCloud now. And this is also perfect timing that crash happened, because it happened with E3 only being a week away. So now that we had that crash, Google had that crash, and people are apprehensive about Stadia now, all eyes are going to be on Microsoft tomorrow and what the xCloud can offer. So Microsoft hasn't even shown us shit yet we're talking about with the xCloud, but people already put the xCloud in the lead ahead of Stadia just from that crash. I think if that crash never happens, none of these YouTubers are talking about, Google is 10 years too early, or, it's just not there yet. Streaming isn't there yet. The streaming future just isn't here yet. They wouldn't be talking about that shit. They would be talking about a future of, the convenience of being able to play your games anywhere you want on any device you want. Now they're backpedaling from that shit. I mean, what was so horrible about that presentation? I was never on board with this streaming shit anyway, but I never saw anything in that presentation that made me feel any different from what I felt from the beginning. You got the free subscription and you got the founder subscription, and they give you what games are going to be available. That's it. What was so bad about that people that was supporting this shit 2 months ago are now backpedaling and backing away from this shit? So, hey, Guy Code, I said, you said Craig's all aboard still, though. Anybody wants to get on board with it, hey, more power to them. I'm not going to knock them. JP Local, you said whatever next event Google stages for Stadia, watch Dreamcast Guy and Spawn Wave do a complete 180 and do a video along the lines of, yeah, you're going to see that kind of shit. JP Local, that's what they doing now. They doing a 180 because of that crash. To never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups. You saying you pretty sure he's trolling though. I don't know if you're referring to JP Local's comment about Spawn Wave and Dreamcast Guy, but man, it was Spawn Wave and Dreamcast Guy are Xbox dick riders as well. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Sick. So again, I'm going to flat out say it. I think when Google went down last Sunday, I figure it came down to one of three things. Like I said, Google might have been trying to stress test their cloud to see how much of a load it can take before it goes down. They might have been, trying to put Google Stadia through its paces, to see, to see how much of an impact that would have on the cloud, or Microsoft found one of these hackers to take them down, like the Lizard Squad or whoever. Microsoft hired somebody to take them down. Because again, the timing of the shit is all suspicious. When it comes to the streaming shit, as far as having their own servers, the X Cloud and Stadia. Who's the biggest player in this shit? You know, I think the biggest players in this shit is going to be Google, Microsoft, and I think possibly Amazon. Now, all these other subscription services are probably going to need their cloud services in order for you to be able to play this shit. So as of right now, the two biggest competitors, Azure servers just recently went down. another suspicious moment. Okay, Sick. Let me throw this at you. Okay, let me throw this at you. I mentioned during the PS3 generation that we remember when PlayStation Network went down for about a month. I suspected that Microsoft was behind it because it happened at a time where the 360 jumped out to a big lead at the beginning of the generation. But after Sony made their adjustments and price cut the PS3 to make it be able to compete with the 360, they started gaining momentum. And then they had like 3 weeks in a row where the PS3 outsold the 360. All of a sudden, they get hacked. They go down for about a month. Microsoft jumps up talking about Xbox Live is more secure. To me, that statement right there implicated them, and they became my number one suspect as to why the PlayStation Network went down. Then the next major incident, as far as I'm concerned, was in 2013 when Lizard Squad told everybody up front that they were taking both PSN and Xbox Live offline for the Christmas holidays, and they said they doing it because they wanted them to strengthen their network so they don't get hacked. I don't get why would a burglar tell a bank to strengthen your security measures so I can't rob you? That makes no sense. So I believe that Microsoft put Lizard Squad up to taking down the PlayStation Network because, again, it happened at a very peculiar time. It happened only about a month and a half after both consoles launched, and because of the variables involved with the PlayStation being $100 cheaper and more powerful, along with Microsoft charging $500 for the Xbox One, along with the DRM debacle, the PlayStation jumped out to a huge lead in such a short time. And after about a month and a half, now all of a sudden, both of them get taken down for the Christmas holidays. I believe that Microsoft had Lizard Squad take down PSN, but had them take down Xbox Live as well, so Microsoft doesn't look suspicious. Because if Sony gets taken down again back in December of 2013, but nothing happens to Microsoft, then they automatically become a suspect. Because now you have two major incidences where PSN went down and nothing happened to Xbox Live. So I think Microsoft had Lizard Squad take them down as well, so it doesn't look suspicious on their part. And so now you're telling me Sick, that the Azure servers are down only a few days after Google went down? Another suspicious moment right there. You could probably, a lot of people who don't like Microsoft or have a negative outlook of Microsoft, excuse me, will suspect Microsoft in a lot of shit if their name is in the general galaxy of the incident. Yeah, I get what you're saying, that that Google went down before Azure. I'm just saying that it's still a coincidence that Azure went down. That still looks strange that Azure went down in only a couple of days after Stadia. Speaking of which, Sick, you at work? Maybe it's aliens. If it's aliens, Microsoft hired them. Azure went down before Stadia? No, okay. Oh shit, you got me there. I was not aware of that. You got me there. Oh, you at work? Damn. I was gonna ask you if you wanted to come in. You says JP Loco. You said but then why hasn't Microsoft attempted to do that again when PS4 is outselling the Xbox 3-1 like it is now? They can't. It like right now, JP Loco, it make no sense for Microsoft to have somebody take PSN offline because it's not going to slow people down. It's not going to slow down the sales momentum right now. What's going on right now is like somebody like somebody destroyed a dam and then the water just flooded out of there. You can't stop that shit. No matter what Microsoft tries to do to try to slow Sony down, they just can't do it. I mean, in my opinion, Microsoft tried to slow Sony down with the crossplay bullshit. And I would probably say after Microsoft stopped revealing their sales numbers to, NPD and all that kind of shit, at that point, I think their campaign to sell the Xbox became sell their product by trying to say Sony shit don't have this or Sony doesn't have that or whatever product Sony's offering is not popular anymore because Microsoft and EA were the two biggest promoters of single player games dying. So just because Microsoft didn't have people hack them again doesn't mean that Microsoft hasn't tried to take Sony down in one way or another. Because I felt like I felt like throughout the 360 generation and at the beginning of this generation, Microsoft wasn't trying to beat Sony. They were trying to destroy them. And I felt like they pulled some ruthless tactics. So now shift gears. Microsoft already know they can't fuck with Sony. So they ain't really trying to fight with them no more. I don't really think they're trying to sabotage Sony anymore. Right now, Google Stadia is their biggest threat. But oh, what a coincidence that shit crashed only a couple of days before their presentation. So my question is now is tomorrow when Microsoft does their E3, how braggadocious will Microsoft be when they talk up the xCloud and try to talk about how reliable it is and how many servers they got all over the world or whatever kind of pitch they might make. I think if Microsoft spends a lot of unnecessary time talking about the xCloud, I'm going to be that much more suspicious of them. So I can't prove that Microsoft had anything to do with Google going down last Sunday, but there are implications there. Microsoft is going in a totally different direction. And I said it before that Microsoft is in a awkward situation. They may have a lot of people coming to them for the services of Azure, but as far as the Xbox division goes, as far as the gaming division goes, I think it's in a precarious situation because no matter where they're turned, there's competition. They stay in the console. If they stay in the console space, they're going to continue to get their head cracked by Sony. With this cloud-based shit moving in that direction, Google's going to be the biggest competitor, and I think Amazon and whoever else wants to step into this shit, they're going to be a competitor there. So as far as the gaming division goes, it's a fucking jungle out there for Microsoft. Not to mention that they're shooting themselves in the foot by offering their shit to every device. You know what I mean? Well, I ain't gonna say shooting themselves in the foot, but they're definitely undermining their hardcore user base. They have nothing exclusive anymore. But in the cloud gaming realm, Google's the biggest competition, and it just so happens that their competition went down. Let me see what you got here, Sick. Let me see here. I'm that link that you just gave me, sick. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show everybody what it is, rather than try to read it. Right here, 404. That's an error. The requested URL, geekwire.com, 2019 Microsoft Azure server. Azure recovering from major networking related outage, took Office 365 Xbox Live services, was not found on the server. That's all we know. Shit. Hey. Hey. Oh, you broke the link? Okay, what was that supposed to be? I thought that was something to let me look at it again. Yeah, I'm still getting that error message. I thought that was supposed to be a message of you showing me the proof that the Azure servers was down. Shit, I was about to throw another theory back out there. Shit, maybe Google been fucking with them. Oh, okay. Shit. I don't know. Microsoft and Google are going to be fighting it out fiercely for the majority market share. And go to Google and search Azure outage 2019. Right. May 2nd, 2019, major Azure outage due to DSM migration issue. Okay, so this was last month. Yeah, I'll have to read up on this later because there's a long, drawn out explanation of this. You know, and I'm definitely no expert in networking. I don't have a degree in tech, IT, that kind of stuff. So I'll have to read that on my own time. And then whatever I take from that, I'll mention it on my next podcast. But, you know, I think it's possible that Microsoft had something to do with Google's outage. Said just hit Meta. He's in IT, bro. I'll pass. Um, you know, Sick is knowledgeable in this department. I would talk to him or I would talk to J Dub. But my suspicions doesn't come from any knowledge of tech. My suspicions come from um, coincidence. Yeah, this streaming shit is definitely not the way. Um, you know something else? I think you pointed out something sick. I was at work and I couldn't say anything about it because I was at work. But when Google showed that chart of the broadband speeds you would need to accomplish whatever resolution you want, um, those speeds to me, I believe they showed download speeds, but didn't show what upload speed was required. And Like take my internet for instance. I don't think I have 60 megs, but it's really fucked up. It's not what you think. It's not what you think it might be. Um, I have 60 megs down, but I only have 6 up. So the previous the previous package that I had 25 down. When I Comcast, when they offer you these packages, they'll tell you what the download speed is, but they won't tell you what the up speed is. So how I ended up finding out is when I got the 25 megs down, how I ended up finding out what my up speed was is I ran a speed test on my PlayStation. So my thinking was that if I take this next package and bump up to 60 megs, I'm thinking that, at the very least, I should get double on the upload speed. So I'm thinking to myself, I should get 60 down and probably 12 up. And again, I ran a speed test on my PlayStation, and I got 60 down, but was getting like 5.9 up. I don't think that's going to be adequate to sustain a stable experience on xCloud or Stadia. Now, I don't give a fuck what Comcast is saying. They are throttling my shit. In fact, I got more speed, but I think I'm getting throttled more by Comcast because some of my devices are taking longer, for me to get to content. It's taking longer for me to, get to Facebook. It's taking longer for me to get the YouTube. Also, something that I noticed, right, is I might have YouTube playing on through my Xbox. And then, since my phone is connected to the internet as well, when I start surfing on my phone and start, going through different internet pages, going to different websites and shit like that, every time I click the button, well, not every time, but there's been a few times where, let's say I might be at M4G and then I go to upload VR or something like that. While that page is in the middle of loading, whatever was being shown, whatever I was streaming on YouTube gets cut off and it goes on to the next video. So I end up having to go back to the video that I was previously streaming and find out exactly where it left off at. So they definitely doing some bullshit, So, these internet providers, especially Comcast, they are licking their chops. They want this streaming to work. They hope this streaming works because they're going to crack you over the fucking head when they throttle you. They're going to create the disease by throttling you. And then they're going to offer you a cure by offering you a package, some kind of fast lane shit, whatever they're talking about. You said get Craig up in here for tech support. All right. Yeah, Cantor, you're going to see ISPs making packages for this new game streaming stuff. They're begging for this shit. I think the only people that streaming is going to fly with is our kids for 2 reasons. Like I said, I think they're going to use these big name YouTubers to draw these kids into Stadia. Secondly, when you're born into slavery, that's all you know. Any kids that are going to be born into this streaming age, like if this streaming ever hits its stride and it becomes center stage in terms of gaming, any kids that are born into that's all they're going to know because that's what they're going to see once they start to be aware of their surroundings. My son was born in 2006. He was about 3 years old when he started understanding that gaming consoles was there. So I'd say when he was about 3 years old, he'd see me playing Gears of War. That's how he got started with Gears of War, because I was a Gears of War nut back then. He would see me playing Gears of War and he would try to take my controller from me and try to play the game. But if I didn't let him have it, he would jump up and down screaming and throwing fits and shit like that. So that's what my son was born into. But that's all he knows. There is no way I could tell my son to go back and play an Atari 2600 and tell him that that is a good device. That is a solid machine. Same thing with these kids. These kids are born into this streaming age. You're not going to be able to tell them to go back and play the PS3 or go back and play, you know, the original Xbox, that those were solid consoles. They're going to look at you like you a fucking dinosaur. So people like me, Google know they can't get the people like me because I'm old, stubborn ass motherfucker. I'm stuck in my ways. I'm telling you, I'm not fucking with this streaming, and I mean it. But they can try to get to my son. My son is 13 years old. Now, my son is in this council age, but my son also likes a lot of YouTubers too. He likes Jacksepticeye. He likes Markiplier. He likes 8-bit, whatever that dude is. I think he likes Ninja. He likes all those dudes. YouTube rounds up all those dudes and get them to promote Stadia and get them to play shit like that. That's going to rope a lot of these, you know, like these 8 to 13-year-old kids. That's going to rope them in. They're going to go beg their parents, can we get the founders package? Can we go get that YouTube controller that so I can play with, you know, play with my favorite YouTubers? You know, my uncle Jeff Mayweather, when I was talking to him a couple of days ago, he was telling me, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was telling me that he was good friends with a YouTuber that had 18 million subscribers. And he said he's been out in public with these YouTubers before, and people was flocking to them like they was movie stars and losing their damn mind. They have a big influence. PewDiePie with 97 million subscribers, YouTube pay him $2 million to play on Stadia and open his shit up for a couple of hours and tell his subscribers, you know, that they can, you know, all you have to do is, you know, subscribe to this and get the founders package and blah, blah, blah. And on this day, during this time, you can have a chance to play Fortnite with me or something like that. Man, these kids are going to lose their fucking mind to try to get in there with PewDiePie. So again, they can't get me. They can't get Sick Humor. They can't get King Thrash, but they can try to get our kids. That is the target of Stadia, not us. The kids are the target. And so YouTube using these big YouTubers to promote Stadia, that's a given. I mean, look at Microsoft. You know, look at Microsoft using big name YouTubers to play they bullshit ass Sea of Thieves and that kind of stuff. You said until PewDiePie drops the N-word. Shit, he can still use that N-word and he'll still be able to pull in 2, 3, 4 million people on the Stadia. You know, he could stamp that Nazi shit on his forehead and he'd still pull in 3, 4 million people on Stadia. How long before Google come out with the Stadia Premium Platinum service for not $100 a month? Hey, I think that's a few years away, but I think it's coming. JB Loco, you don't know who Cliffy B is? But you're drawing a blank at the moment. The man who brought us Gears of War. He broke away from I think he broke away from Microsoft and I believe Epic, and he went on to create that game Lawbreakers that flopped. You know, Lawbreakers is one of the biggest flops in gaming history. I think that game was dead after 2 weeks. So what time is it? 3:30? Shit, and I'm still awake. But I think I kind of run out of things to talk about. So let me take a quick look at N4G. Oh shit. Well, I guess I'll take a quick second to talk about Bleeding Edge by Ninja Theory. Uh, I think I heard that this is I haven't seen the full trailer yet, but I was listening to podcasts and shit like that and seeing headlines that this game is supposed to be 4 versus 4. It is obviously a service-based game. Who did not see that coming? Now, I'm on board with Sick when he said Thrash called it out a while ago that Microsoft is going third party. He was one of the first people to call that out. But by the time Microsoft started acquiring all these studios, by then they were already starting to make the push to promote Game Pass. So as it became more apparent that Game Pass and the cloud was going to be the primary focus for Microsoft, it became obvious that once they started acquiring all these studios, that these studios were being brought in to fill up the Game Pass library. And how do you keep people uh, how do you keep people invested into these games? By making the shit multiplayer and making it service based. So with that being said, who didn't see that coming? That whatever Ninja Theory was working on, they were talking about how they had creative freedom and all this kind of shit. I'm sure Microsoft probably went to them and said, build whatever you want, but whatever it is, make sure it is multiplayer. So that was a given that whatever Ninja Theory was working on was going to be service based. The big question is Microsoft supposedly is going to show 15, 14 exclusives at E3. The big question is how many of those games are going to be single player? Out of the so-called 14 exclusives that Microsoft's supposed to show at E3, I'm willing to bet that at the most, maybe 4 of them are going to be single player games. At least one Gears 5, but it's multiplayer. It's got a multiplayer as well. The question is will Microsoft ever reach a point as far as the Gears franchise goes? One of the questions looming is, will Microsoft ever reach a point like Activision did and feel like nobody's playing a campaign, therefore we're going to remove it and only leave the multiplayer? But Guy Code, you said Hellblade, the Bleeding Edge, and people want me to believe they wanted to make this game. I'm with you 100%. I do believe that I'm willing to believe that the game is their idea, but Microsoft, had the final say and say that, this whatever you build, make sure it's multiplayer. Not only do I believe that Microsoft told them to make sure that this game is multiplayer, I'm sure Microsoft was looking over their shoulders, looking for any little cutbacks. Take this out, take that out. We don't need this, we don't need that. Because I'm sure Microsoft, I don't give a fuck what they said about this unlimited budget. They did not. We knew they didn't have an unlimited budget. To me, this Bleeding Edge actually looks kind of cheap. By the way, the colors and the textures and all that shit looks of this Bleeding Edge. If you didn't tell me it was Ninja Theory who did this game, I would have thought that it was Undead Labs or whatever the fuck the name of that developer is that did State of Decay, because it has that same kind of it still has that same kind of washed out color and assets that that State of Decay 2 has. The game looks borderline cheap. It is that double A bullshit. It is that how many times did I tell y'all? Microsoft brought in a bunch of bootleg developers to make a bunch of bootleg games. How many times have I told y'all that? In this case, you had a indie developer with some credibility that went off and built what looks like some bullshit. JP Local, you said someone in the roundtable comment section said this. One thing I noticed how uninformed people are. Xbox has zero to do with Bleeding Edge, and that's 100% Ninja Theory. Wrong. Go back to excuse me. Go back to Forza 7. Remember how we talked about the shortcuts that were taken in that game where the car pulls into the pits and it looks like a vacant parking lot and you hear all kinds of impact guns and then the car drives off. You see no pit crew working on that car whatsoever. You don't see the car get jacked up, nothing. You just hear some mechanic noises and then the car drives off. To me, that was Microsoft looking over the developer's shoulder and telling them we don't need an animation showing, what goes on in the pits. Just throw in a couple of sound effects and that's it. We don't need this. Take this out. Take GT Sport. That game is highly detailed. When a car comes into the pit, you see a pit crew holding tires, impact guns, gas tanks, in full uniform wearing helmets. When a car pulls into the pits, you see that cinema of the car raising up off the jacks. You see the crew changing those tires, putting gas in the car, and then you see that meter at the bottom, your gas gauge of and then you determine how much gas gets put in the car. They don't got none of that shit in Forza because Microsoft was breathing over their shoulders and told them we don't need that shit. That's what I believe happened. In the case of State of Decay 2, Gamertag VR, what is up? I'm so glad you're here. I have informed everybody at the beginning of this podcast that you will be my guest. Tentatively scheduled for 1 p.m. Eastern, which is 6 p.m. BST time. I know you said after BST time, so bottom line is once we get close to 6 p.m. BST time, I'll get in touch with you on Twitter, and then once I get the green light from you, then I'll go ahead and set everything up. I'm looking forward to you coming on to the show and us talking about the Oculus Quest. He said it looks like Borderlands Lawbreakers knockoff. You know that Lawbreakers looked like it probably wasn't a bad game, to tell you the truth. I mean, we've seen 8 million. All right, cool, gamer tag, cool. Appreciate it. Lawbreakers looked like it was a fast-paced game, and yeah, we've seen 1 trillion of those games, but it still didn't look like it was a bad game. It definitely had good graphics. So back to the situation with Microsoft. I told y'all. What did I tell y'all about State of Decay? That game was a broken mess and it looked cheap. They started out saying that game was a AAA game. They started out saying that game was 60 frames per second, and then they backtracked it and said, no, it's 30 frames per second. They called it a AAA game, and then they priced it at $30. And when that garbage came out with those cheap looking graphics and those washed out looking colors, I told y'all that it was going to be more of that shit where State of Decay came from. We are going to get more of that shit because Microsoft brought in these bootleg developers to make these double A ass borderline indie games to fill up Game Pass. And now we about to see the first step in that this weekend when they make it official and show this bleeding edge bullshit. He said, but Ninja Theory haven't really been that great of a studio. Hellblade, I always hear good things that, hear good about, but their Devil May Cry I heard was horrible. I mean, but out of all those, even if they're not that good, out of all those studios that Microsoft acquired, I think I think Ninja Theory is the most well known. But this bleeding edge, there's going to be more of that shit where it came from. And I told y'all before, since Microsoft's goal is to reach 2 billion gamers, don't be surprised if these acquisitions, these studio acquisitions they made, if half of them are making cell games. Don't be surprised if they're trying to make some kind of Candy Crush game. Some kind of free-to-play game that's going to draw people in on their cell phones, and then they can crack them over the head with microtransactions. And I think Thrash might have said that, and I think, Sick might have said that. Smartphone gamers and console gamers are two different people. All these games that we play on our consoles, I don't think it's going to fly with casual gamers that play Candy Crush and play Spades and whatever other else, free-to-play games are out there. Casual gamers are not going to carry a control with them to plug up to their phones. And I think casual gamers that play smartphones, I think these are people that just like pull their phone out when they have 5 minutes to play something. I mean, that was kind of the intentions when I bought my PlayStation Vita, was to carry it with me at all times and then, play something when I'm on my lunch break. Play something if I'm at a friend's house and it's boring, they talking about some boring shit or watching something that I don't want to watch, pull out my Vita and play it. If I'm at a doctor's office waiting, pull it out and play it. But my eyes aren't that sharp anymore. So it's like when I carry my PlayStation Vita with me, I also had to carry a pair of reading glasses with me everywhere to be able to blow the screen up big enough for me to see it. But again, smartphone gamers, how many of them are going to carry controllers with them? How many of them are going to go buy a $60 Xbox controller that's bigger than a fucking phone in their hand? How many of them are going to go buy a stand for their phone so they can stand the phone up to act as a monitor so they can play games using a controller? These are casual gamers we talking about. If you are trying to trap a carnivore, you have to use plants and vegetation as bait. If you are trying to catch an omnivore, you must use meat as bait. With that being said, you are not going to be able to feed you are not going to be able to bait a carnivore with meat. You are not going to be able to bait a casual gamer that plays Candy Crush with a full-blown Halo game that they have to pay for a subscription or pay an outright $60 to be able to play, which they wouldn't be able to buy it anyway for the cell phone because they probably don't have enough space to download that entire console version of the, watered down console version of the game to their phone. But I still don't see a casual gamer paying $10 a month for a subscription to these games unless they pay for the subscription and just forget about it, which might be Microsoft's hope. They'll pay for the subscription and just forget about it. But the bottom line is, I told y'all, as soon as that State of Decay shit came out, as soon as that Sea of Thieves shit came out, Sea of Thieves is a fucking indie game. They called it a AAA game. Sea of Thieves is some indie shit. They promoted it like a AAA game. State of Decay is an indie game. They started out trying to promote it like an indie, like a AAA game. I think the only reason why they backed off of trying to promote that game like a AAA game is because of how buggy and broken it is. They knew it. They knew it during the promotion stage when they were promoting that game. They knew it was a broken, buggy mess. And I think the backlash would have been severe if they would have priced that game at $60. But instead, you know, the people who bought the game for $30, instead of lashing out at Microsoft saying that game was straight up trash, they just accepted it. Well, it was only paid $30 for it, you know. JP Loco, you said Ninja Theory has way more potential than this. I expected better from them. No, I did not. They were handcuffed. Microsoft handcuffed them. Microsoft probably told them, this is what we want. This is how long you got to get it done. This is how much money we are giving you to get this game done. Does that bleeding edge take Horizon Zero Dawn? I'll always use that as a measuring stick. That game took Sony to the next level. That game is what put the PS4 Pro on the map. I think that game is what introduced us all to HDR and that kind of stuff. Horizon Zero Dawn raised the bar. That game cost $47 million to make. Does this Bleeding Edge look like something that cost $47 million to make? With a team that had an unlimited budget, with a team that had creative freedom? No, Microsoft handcuffed them, JP Local. They didn't have that creative freedom. None of them do. And Jay Fields, he said Bleeding Edge looked like it cost $5. I would agree. That game is part of a plan to fill Game Pass up with a bunch of bootleg games from a bunch of bootleg developers that I have been telling y'all for God knows how long. I've become a broken record that I said this shit. Quote me on it. They brought in bootleg developers to create bootleg games to fill up Game Pass. How many times did I tell y'all that Microsoft caught these developers at a vulnerable moment? They caught these developers when they were on the verge of bankruptcy. Or they caught them at a time when they hadn't put out shit in God knows how long. Microsoft caught all these developers at a vulnerable state. I mean, that Bleeding Edge, like I said, the colors look washed out like State of Decay. The colors don't have any pop. The colors didn't reach out like pow and just hit you with that with the vibrant colors and HDR. It didn't look like that. The shit looked cheap. Again, if you were to do a split screen and put State of Decay and this Bleeding Edge next to each other, I would have thought that the same developer made both of those games based on the colors and the textures and all that kind of shit. There you go, Jay Fields. I told y'all, quote me on it. You said it looks like another bootleg mobile game, Gears of Battle. I told y'all Microsoft brought in bootleg developers to make bootleg games. Burn that shit into your head. I told y'all that a long time ago. See, well, the thing about it is when Microsoft was bragging that they was getting all these studios, they made it seem like they was catering to the Xbox fans who were threatening to leave if they did not see a roadmap, if Microsoft didn't start producing the kind of AAA quality games that Sony produces. And they went shooting their mouth off about all these studio acquisitions last year at E3. And I told y'all all these motherfuckers was bootlegs that got caught in a vulnerable state. You said Bleeding Edge looks trash, but people will substitute trash for fun. Never forget Crackdown 3. Exactly. Crackdown 3, in my opinion, never should have released. I think the only reason why Microsoft, I ain't gonna say the only reason, but I think a big reason why Microsoft still pushed to put Crackdown 3 out, because that game was in limbo for so fucking long and so many people was wondering what was going on with Crackdown. And they already had a fucked up reputation for shutting down what's the name of that fucking game that people got mad that they canceled a couple of years ago. I can't remember the name of that fucking game. You know, and it was because of Horizon Zero Dawn that people started screaming for Return of Fable. Remember? Yeah, see, you know, you say JP Local, you said they're going to brag about more studio acquisitions at E3 too. Yes, they are. But this year, they cannot brag about those studio acquisitions as if we hear you. We're listening to the community. You said you wanted a roadmap. You said you wanted more games. You said you wanted more studios. And we've gone out and got the best studio. No, they ain't going to be able to tell that shit. This time they got to tell the truth. We know what the game is now. We know that you brought in all these motherfucking developers to make some trash ass games to fill up the Game Pass library. Yeah, Scalebound. That's the game on Support Gaming. Guy Code, you said this would be like Microsoft buying Naughty Dog to make an exclusive battle royale game. It's a waste of time and talent. Exactly. If Microsoft was to be able to snatch Naughty Dog right out from under Sony, expect whatever they produce to look exactly like this Bleeding Edge. Expect it to be a multiplayer service-based game. And I wouldn't even be surprised if the game is a broken, buggy mess when it launches, coming from somebody like Naughty Dog, because Microsoft would put them under the hammer to get the game done in probably an unreasonable manner. So let me go back to N4G, see what else I can find to talk about before I get ready to wrap this up. Let me see. Bethesda's finally going to ship those damn Fallout 76 canvas bags. That's exactly what the title says. Says Battlefield 5 avoiding Nazis is a political statement, whether EA likes it or not. EA seems to can't get out of their own way putting these political agendas in their games. They whatever. They could be gone. I wouldn't miss them. Damn, Trover Saves the Universe got a 9 out of a 10. Damn. But again, we can't take what they say for granted. Yeah, you're right. Sony owns Naughty Dog. That's never going to happen. But but Guy Cole threw that out there as an example. He said that's like Microsoft buying Naughty Dog and had them make a battle royale game. Whatever Microsoft's reason would be, if they did acquire Naughty Dog, whatever they produce is going to be trash because it's going to have Microsoft's hands all over it. I said this before. With Ninja Theory, I said this before with Ninja Theory. When they signed on with Microsoft, I said it. I said they might have jumped out of the frying pan and into the fire. You might have a steady paycheck coming in, but you will be ordered to produce trash. You said, I just hope Microsoft does not buy out Blue Point like they're rumored to. I would love for them to make a Jack and Dexter trilogy remake for PS5. Well, first of all, do not be surprised if Microsoft can get Blue Point for a bargain basement price. I would see Microsoft picking them up, and it seems it seems to me like some of these studio acquisitions that Microsoft has made, part of their bragging point is that they have gotten former Sony developers to join some of these teams. The same people who produce single player games that Microsoft claimed was dying out, that wasn't that popular anymore. Yeah, yeah, Geico. You said Naughty Dog is the biggest first party studio Sony has. They won't let them go. Yeah, that would be the equivalent of I don't know. That would be the equivalent of the Chicago Bulls not letting go of Michael Jordan when he was in his prime. It was never going to happen. Sick. You said they forget Microsoft had a relationship with these companies prior to the acquisition. This was more than likely something that was being worked on for Microsoft before being acquired. Yeah, I agree. But I think they definitely pulled the wool over all those Xbox people last year with these acquisitions by making them think that they acquired all these studios as if we were listening to you, we heard you, and we responded. No, there was a plan in place for Game Pass and the cloud. Ninja Theory, Obsidian, all these other studios that they picked up, they're part of a much bigger plan than Xbox. Cantor, you said Sony would be in suicide routine if they ever sold Naughty Dog. Yeah, I agree. Sick, you said it's just too convenient. They had a game in that tuck that was exactly what Microsoft was looking for. You know what? Hey, JP Loco, I just thought about something. At the beginning of this podcast, I think you said that Ninja Theory was supposedly working on this Bleeding Edge for 6 years. I call bullshit on that. And I say that is because if they were working on this game for 6 years, why didn't Microsoft or somebody show what they were working on last year? I mean, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the developers of Crackdown 3, however many developers were involved in Crackdown 3, didn't they start development of Crackdown 3 in like 2012, 2013 or something like that? And they first showed it to everyone in 2014, 2015? And the game was still like 4 or 5 years out before it was done? Hell, at least this Battletoads shit that's supposedly being worked on, at least they showed us some cover art or whatever that shit is. I mean, hell, have all these great games that Sony's given us over the last couple of years. Spider-Man, God of War. Detroit Become Human, the Uncharted's. All those great games that Sony gave us, didn't they show us those games when they were still like 2 years away from being done? If Ninja Theory was supposedly working on this game for the past 6 years, they were far enough along in development that they could have showed us something last year. There's no way anybody's going to make me believe that up until this point they was doing nothing but just inputting a bunch of information in the computers, and we just now getting some damn we just now getting a trailer for this shit. Nah. Microsoft signed Ninja Theory to a contract or whatever last year and put them to work the very next day. That's why we just now seeing whatever it is they worked on. They might have been working at a feverish pace, but whatever they was working on wasn't ready. If they was working on something that they started 6 years ago, they had material they could have showed us last year. They had material they should have called. They had material they could have showed us 2 years ago before Microsoft even bought them. Remedy recently came out and stated that they support single player games. I think they might have been them giving the middle finger to Microsoft and EA. Yeah. Oh, don't forget to throw Amy Hennig in there too. Fuck her too, because she let EA brainwash her into believing that single player games was dying out when they fired her ass. And she blamed people, watching YouTube videos as to why single players wasn't doing very good. No, everybody else except Sony was making trash. That's the biggest reason why single player games wasn't selling, if anything. All these games that Sony put out in the last couple of years, you tell me which one failed in terms of sales. Because of the Metacritic score it got and the reception that it got, the game that people seemed to think was going to flop was Days Gone. And how did that turn out? No, single players wasn't nowhere near dead. Just like a lot of these people was making trash or just wasn't making them, simply put. Even these Assassin's Creed games, I never played any one of these Assassin's Creed games, and it seems like it's 71 of these fucking games, but I've never heard of any of them being an outright flop. Hi, Colt. You said Sony would be wise to get them, but I think Sony want to expand upon the studios they already have. I don't want Sony to acquire too many studios and go bankrupt, like Tall Tale did. Yeah. Hey, I think they know what they're doing. I trust them. They're invested in gaming. They're committed to bringing us great games. They are still trying. The console itself is still the feature hardware for the Sony Corporation. So I trust they will continue to deliver. The one thing that I would probably ask of Sony is probably crazy. I would probably ask them to scale back on some of the games they make. Don't scale back on how many games you make. Don't release them too close together. Spread them out and give these time, give these games room to breathe. Because all the games like that was Guy Code. That was Guy Code PlayStation Plus podcast. Did you really just compare Sony to Telltale? Yes, he did compare them. Stop it, Guy Code. Vieira, what's up? Yeah, late night podcast. To me, it shouldn't really be a surprise that I'm having a late night podcast, it probably should be a surprise that for once I said I was going to stay up all night and I actually did it. JP Local, you said even the order 1886, while it wasn't the best, it technically did not flop. It did sell 1.3 or 1.7 million copies, if I'm not mistaken. As far as I'm concerned, at the very least, the game probably broke even. As far as I'm concerned, if the game broke even, it's not a flop. You can say it didn't meet expectations or it was below expectations, but I don't consider it a flop. If they didn't lose money off of it, I don't consider it a flop. It's a guy called PlayStation in a way. I don't want them to acquire too much and not be able to keep their business going, like they had to cut off a lot of stuff they did for the PS3. Okay, I won't argue with that. I mean, God, I guess when you at the top, everybody watching your every move. You know, I guess it's lonely at the top. You know, I caught part of Six podcast from work today, and I absolutely love how he pointed out how people always talking about we need Microsoft to be competitive so Sony doesn't become complacent or become arrogant or what have you. It doesn't matter. Microsoft was going to go the route that they were going to go. Microsoft, the minute Microsoft stopped revealing those NPD numbers, that was the day they stopped being competitive. But their marketing campaign from that moment forth was to make people think that they were still committed to being competitive with Sony or beating Sony. Now they know that trash can't sell under its own merit. Now they have to use somebody else's name. You know, McDonald's, you know, Burger King got to try to sell the Whopper by saying that it tastes better than the Big Mac. They can't say that it's actually a good sandwich. They got to say that it tastes better than the Big Mac. That's what Microsoft's been doing for the last 3, 4, 5 years. That's been their campaign. That's been their marketing strategy. You said, I see where Guy Code is coming from. His concern is a legit concern. I don't know. I don't know if you building a basketball team and you want to build a basketball team full of 3-point shooters, and you got 3-point shooters, you might want to. They might feel the need to get a fourth one to spread that floor out. I don't know. You know, different situations for different people. Some people may feel the need to fortify what is already strong. And some people may feel that they might need to work on their weak spots. In the case of Sony, they probably feel like they want to strengthen up something that they're already good at. But I have confidence in them. I believe they know what they are doing. And I believe that they'll continue to deliver next generation. So you have dev creating studios on their own. It doesn't cost much to buy a studio. Speaking of developers, I forgot. I forgot to reach out to him. I'm going to try to get a developer to join me on the Lincoln show. The developer that sent me the code to the game Drive. when they made their official trailer for the game, they actually quoted me on the trailer, which I just happened to catch that on a VR 365. He was playing the trailer in a loop, and down in the corner it said, "I give it a thumbs up, Lincoln Clay." And Anthony of VR 365 even mentioned me on it. He was like, "Lincoln Clay, I believe I've seen him in the chat before," and you know, and they quoted me on their trailer, so I plan to reach out to him, and you know, because I was in contact with him for a couple of days during the process of him giving me multiple codes for the game. So I'm going to try to reach out to them and ask him if he will come on the Lincoln Show. Said Sony's worth about 80 billion. So you could build a studio with a $10 million budget. Well, shit. Let me go right on down to Walmart and buy a studio kit, and I'm about to get started. Impatient Fire, what's up? Yes, for once I kept my word. Well, not say I kept my word, but yeah, for whatever reason, I'm up. You said Lincoln going places. Oh, you said you listening to podcasts with your VR headset? That's what's up. That is what's up. Impatient Fire. That's what's up. Support the VR community. I know you down with the VR community. I've actually I know you and Christopher Hart. I believe you two support VR big time. Geico, you said if Sony can buy and support Remedy as a first-party studio, I'm all aboard because I will continue to invest in Sony and their first-party devs. Yeah, Loco, I got 10 million bucks. Hold on, let me just a minute. Go on my cabinet real quick and see if I can find that jar with $10 million in it, that penny jar with $10 million in it. Hold on a second. Yeah. Sick. You said, I think Sony is more concerned about not having dead weight. I would agree. Because while they've acquired some studios, I think they've let go of some of them. Because I think they cut ties with the developer of Drive Club. I think they cut ties with Ready at Dawn. You know, the developer of the Order 1886. Now, I would love to see Sony bring Ready at Dawn. I would love to see Sony bring them back to make VR games, because Ready at Dawn, the same people who made the Order 1886, they made Lone Echo for the Oculus. And Lone Echo is still the best looking VR game that I have ever seen. And they are developing Lone Echo 2, which is supposed to be out this year. Excuse me. So I would love to see Sony bring Ready at Dawn back to have them make a VR game for the next generation of VR for the PS5. I would love to see that happen. And Sick, you said they want studios to have something unique to offer. And yes, JP Loco, my penny jar. So we're working our way towards 4:30. I'm still awake, but I think I'm going to get off here shortly. And a new Order game is coming out. Damn, that will be cold. I hope so. To this very day, I still think that as far as like 1080p game goes, I think the Order 1886 might be the best looking 1080p game out there. And I still think it's one of the better looking games this generation. Because I think you can probably count on one hand how many games Microsoft has that looks better than the Order 1886. You said if I was Sony, I would acquire three studios: Insomniac, Blue Point, and Remedy. I think in the case of Insomniac, I think they made it clear, JP Local, that they don't want to be bought. Sick. You said it wasn't 1080p though. What was the resolution on the Order 1886? Oh, it was weird, like 900. Well, I think at the beginning of the generation, a lot of these games on the PlayStation was like that, because I think Battlefield 4 was like 900 something p. You know, they started out saying that the game was in 1080p, but then once Digital Foundry got a hold of it and broke the shit down, then it was like it's 900p and that kind of stuff. But still, though, where I'm going with that is that before the 4K thing hit, um, I think that the Order 1886 was probably one of the best looking games out there, along with Killzone Shadowfall. I think those are two of the best looking games that was out there before we went into this 4K shit. You said you think Remedy wants to stay independent. Now, in the case of what I was going to say about Insomniac, I believe they said they don't want to be bought; they want to remain independent. But I think Sony is still going to get Sony's still going to be their preferred customers. So I think Sony's still going to come first. So I think if Microsoft and Sony come knocking at their door at the same time, they're going to cater to Sony first. Yeah, Killzone, you know, I love Killzone. I think that was a really fun game. I think the story started out a little bit slow, but I think it picked up, and I think it was I think Killzone Shadowfall was a good game. If I wasn't so wrapped up in VR, Killzone Shadowfall would probably be one of the games that I would pull out and blow the dust off of it and play the multiplayer once in a while. Hell, shit, the multiplayer on I think the multiplayer on The Last of Us is grossly underrated. The multiplayer on The Last of Us is great. You said you didn't like the campaign too much, but the multiplayer was fire. Okay, I can understand it and pitch your fire. Again, my thinking was that the campaign started out a little bit slow, so much to the point that I nearly returned the game, but I decided to go ahead and stick it out, and I ended up liking the campaign. And I think Killzone Shadowfall was one of the few games that took advantage of the built-in speaker on the DualShock 4. Not too many games took advantage of that feature. So, adios, Pony Commander. All right. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up in a few minutes. I definitely appreciate all of you staying up with me in the middle of the night, checking out this podcast. I'm really surprised how many of you are in here. I am pleasantly surprised. I think I'm going to shut it down here in a minute and head on over to the Oculus and play some Poker Stars VR. I might go ahead and stream it, but it hasn't been very good. I think I've lost about $160,000 this week on Poker Stars VR. I've been getting my goddamn head cracked. The big thing is I go to those $20,000 tables, and these dudes keep going all in on every single hand, even though they don't have shit. They keep going all in. And if you think you got a halfway decent hand, you got to stay with it. And that shit has caused me to lose about 120,000. So I think I only got like 300 and something thousand left. He said, I'm at work. This was a much needed stream. Hey, I really appreciate it, Sick. I really appreciate hearing that. Stardust and Cyril, you say good show. Hey, I appreciate it. I really do. So if I should decide to go ahead and stream PokerStars VR, I'll be back on streaming that like within I'd say about 20 minutes or so. So if I do stream PokerStars VR, head on over and see if I can get some of this money back that I lost. So with that being said, give it a like. I really appreciate y'all coming in. I really do. Very good topic to talk about. A lot of good conversation in the chat tonight. I really appreciate it. And again, make sure you guys check me out. Great show. I came in late, but enjoyed myself. Hey, I appreciate it, Impatient Fire. Again, 1 p.m. Eastern time, tentatively scheduled. My guest is Gamertag VR. We're going to talk about the Oculus Quest. I think he's had a good amount of time to get hands-on with it. So we're going to get his impressions of the Oculus Quest. So, and that's going to go a long way in determining whether I'm going to get an Oculus Quest, which the way things are looking, in all likelihood, I'm going to get an Oculus Quest. I've got an idea of what it's going to cost to get my car fixed. It's not going to be cheap because it sounds like the computer went out. And, so we're probably looking at about $1,000 to get my car fixed, but hell, it is what it is. The car's got to get fixed. I got to have my wheels. But I think I'm still going to go ahead and get an Oculus Quest for my son. He seems to have warmed up to the idea that when I kind of broke it down to him that the Oculus Quest is actually, the VR version of the Nintendo Switch, and he's okay with that. So I think in all likelihood, I'm probably going to go ahead and get him an Oculus Quest. These things are still sold out. You cannot order them yet. So I think they're probably in the process of probably manufacturing the next wave of headsets. So as soon as they become available, I think I'll probably end up ordering Oculus Quest. Excuse me. It said 12 p.m. I'm doing the EA Play stream. I'll be streaming all E3 conferences. Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll check out your EA Play stream until it's time for me to go ahead and do my podcast with Gamertag at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then as far as you streaming all E3 conferences, I'll do my best to try to catch all of those. I have Monday off, so in all likelihood, my son will be staying with me Sunday night, and we'll check out the E3. We'll check out the E3 conference together. So I think what's going to happen there is that my son will probably end up watching it in the bedroom, and then if possible, I'll join you on the stream, and we can talk about it, see what's going on with it. So. Yeah, I believe Microsoft's E3 is on Sunday, I believe. Because I Googled it, and I think they said it's supposed to start Sunday. I don't want to jump up and give an exact time because I don't want to go spreading misinformation and cause somebody to miss the shit. But you guys all know how to use Google. So that is the plan for the weekend. Let me grab a drink and then see about jumping on this PokerStars here in a few minutes. So again, if you still happen to be up and I stream PokerStars VR, join me and see if we can get this money. He gonna drain your pockets. Hey, sick. To see my son smile is priceless. You know how I feel about VR. I want my son, I bought him a PlayStation VR, but at the time that I gave it to him, his bedroom was too small for the PlayStation VR. But now that his older brother has moved out, he has his older brother's room, which is a bigger bedroom. But I think that giving him an Oculus Quest will allow him to experience VR in any room. So, he's absolutely loving Pavlov and Five Nights at Freddy's. So those are going to be my biggest motivators for wanting to get him an Oculus Quest to be able to play those games on the Oculus Quest. So all right, y'all, for the 98th time, I'm going, and I will see y'all in a little bit if I decide to jump on PokerStars VR. Otherwise, look for me at 1 p.m. Eastern when I have Gamertag on board. So again, thanks again, everybody, for staying up with me. I appreciate it. And I will see y'all later.